And these are the war rooms and the nurse centre during the war that Winston Churchill and Eisenhower came to receive the Defence of Malta and the invasion of Sicily.
You may stop the tape to view things as many times as you wish. Now we're going to take you right back into those dark days of the Second World War. Shelters that were hurriedly excavated to protect them from the savage aerial onslaught. As the Axis military machine overran all opposition, Malta stood alone in the center of the Mediterranean, at the mercy of and Italy faced each other throughout the Mediterranean. Italy, a recent ally of Nazi Germany, had a modern battle fleet consisting of battleships, cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and other support. The depleted Mediterranean fleet, which had supplied a substantial number of its units to the Norwegian campaigns, could only take the initiative. We now take up our journey inside the Navy plotting room. The date, the 11th of November, 1940. Present inside are officers and personnel of the Royal Navy who manned their post 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 819 Squadron took off to form a second wave. At 11 o'clock at night, the first wave went in. With anti-aircraft fire breaking all around them, the aircraft came in, skimming the surface of the bay and dropping their torpedoes. Stand here, you can see two narrow rooms, one marked WT in and adjacent to it, WT out. These two rooms were the hub of all naval wireless telecommunications and were manned day and night by naval personnel. In the compartment at the back of the second room lies the cipher room, where highly trained and trusted operators decoded and encoded signals using codebooks, Typex machines, and one-time code pads. This was done before they were handed over to operators in the front section for transmission, either by Morse or teleprinter. In these early days of January 1941, Operation Excess was mounted to supply Malta and Greece. Whilst approaching the Sicilian Narrows, Italian bombers attacked the convoy and were driven back by fighters from HMS Illustrious, the Royal Navy's newest armoured deck aircraft carrier. Out of nowhere, German Stuka bombers and Junker 87s appeared for the first time in the central Mediterranean, singling out the carrier and dive-bombing her mercilessly. During 10 minutes, Illustrious was hit 6 times, where 126 members of her crew were killed and 91 injured in a scene which left the mighty vessel on fire with her steering gear wrecked and no guns firing. Like anti-aircraft gunners, coastal defences on the island were not involved in the daily fray. Whilst being in a constant state of alert for a seaborne attack, they had to endure a nerve-wracking wait to prove their mettle. This came without warning, or so it seemed at the time, at dawn on the 26th of July, 1941. The evening before, a flotilla of seacraft bearing members of the Italian Navy left Augusta Harbour, 90 miles north of Malta, on the east coast of Sicily. Their mission was to destroy a convoy inside Grand Harbour that had reached Malta 2 days earlier, and to paralyze the submarine base. The flotilla reached the predetermined area shortly after 4 o'clock in the morning. When still dark, at 4:45, they attacked. After hesitation, one of the craft was directed towards the viaduct linking the breakwater to the shore on the Fort St. Elmo side. The craft hit the boom defense steel net, which protected the Grand Harbour. Failing to explode, it was joined by a second E-boat, which hit the center pylon. The explosion set off the charge on the first U-boat, entangled in the net, and the twin detonation brought down the outer span of the bridge, blocking access to the harbour. By now, the attacking seacraft had been detected by radar. Searchlights illuminated a vast stretch of the sea, covering all approaches to the Grand Harbour. Speeding towards the viaduct, the attackers were exposed. Immediately, twin 6-pounder guns roared into action. The leading E-boat speeding towards the harbour entrance was destroyed. Other craft suffered the same fate. One was sunk by machine gunners, whilst others, damaged and abandoned by their crew, drifted out to sea. In 6 short minutes, the force was decimated. As its name implies, this was the hub of the operational rooms, and its function was to collate and filter all incoming radar data regarding enemy activity. The various command centers, primarily the fighter control room, were then fed this information. Information relayed from radar to the gun room and fighter operations via the filter room had to be accurate and executed with split-second timing to be of use. On the plotting table, you can see a plot laid out showing the approach of the American aircraft carrier USS Wasp, loaned to the Royal Navy following a personal request to President Roosevelt from Winston Churchill. Together with HMS Eagle and supporting naval forces, the Wasp was trying to fly Spitfires once again to beleaguer Malta. Switch on again when you've finished. For a moment, let us go back to early April of 1942. The tonnage of bombs released on the island exceeded anything dropped in the UK during the Battle of Britain. Malta, according to historian Alan Moorhead, became the most bombed place on Earth, with its population down but not out. Blitzed but unbeaten signs went up all over the island. At the height of the battle, on the 15th of April 1942, history was made. Governor-General Dobie received a dispatch from His Majesty King George VI, awarding the George Cross to the island fortress of Malta. That evening he spoke to the people. The award made front-page headlines. 42. The situation in Malta had reached an alarming stage, as the June convoys had failed to replenish the island's needs. The build-up of German and Italian aircraft continued, and the hazards from naval vessels escalated. Against this backdrop, Operation Pedestal, probably the most important convoy ever to reach and supply Malta, was planned. On the night of the 10th of August 1942, 14 fast vessels, including the new American tanker Ohio, entered the Mediterranean under a heavy escort of warships from the British Home Fleet. Royal Navy vessels protecting the convoy included 3 aircraft carriers with their fighter aircraft, together with battleships, cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and other naval units.